Hello, my name is Prince Charles Kenyal, and today I will be discussing the Taal volcano eruption and how it relates to air pollution. So here are some of the guide questions I will be answering in this video. They include: what were the air pollutants emitted during the eruption? What were the impacts of the eruption on health, climate, atmospheric conditions, agriculture, water quality, and the economy? And also, what safety protocols were adapted by the government in order to mitigate the impacts of the eruption? So first, let's answer the question, what were the air pollutants emitted during the eruption? So the air pollutants included volcanic ash and dust, which were scattered throughout the atmosphere. They are also called aerosols because they are suspended in the air and are small enough to be inhaled by humans. In addition, sulfur dioxide and greenhouse gases were also released into the atmosphere and transported at high altitudes. These pollutants can be very harmful in many different ways, which we will discuss in the upcoming slides. So now let's take a look at what were the impacts of the eruption. The first obvious impact was that the eruption was in the health of the people and living close to the area. The pollutants emitted by the eruption can cause illnesses such as bronchitis, coughing, and nose and throat irritation. The sulfur dioxide being exposed could also cause skin and eye irritation and discomfort in breathing. As was stated in this week's module, outdoor air pollution is a leading environmental cause of cancer deaths, so the eruption greatly impacted the health of the civilians near the volcano. These pollutants especially have great effect on children, elderly, and those with pre-existing cardiac or respiratory diseases. Okay, next, let's take a look at what the impact was on the climate and influence on atmospheric conditions. The eruption reduced tropospheric temperatures, reduced solar radiation, and altered circulation patterns in the atmosphere. And furthermore, it resulted in global cooling due to reflecting of solar radiation, which was also mentioned in the module as an effect of the sulfates and nitrates that were emitted by the volcano. And lastly, the aerosol clouds changed the Earth's radiative equilibrium by absorbing the radiation from Earth and diffusing incoming solar radiation. The next great impact that the eruption had was on agriculture. So after the eruption, most vegetation was killed or stripped of leaves. And among these vegetations were crops such as rice, cacao, corn, coffee, and banana. And the total damages costed about 577 million pesos and affected about 15,970 acres of land, hectares of land. And the pollutants that greatly affected the livelihood of plants because it can slow down their growing and also make them lose their color. Next is the impact on water quality. The eruption changed the lake's acidity and temperature because of the sulfur that was emitted, and this made the environment for aquatic life very harmful. And this caused the lake to lose over 15,000 metric tons of fish, which equates to about 1.6 billion pesos. And 30% of the fish cages in Taal were destroyed. This impact on water quality was probably caused by secondary pollutants, such as acid rain, that come from the primary pollutants as discussed in this week's module. So taking a look at some of the other impacts of the eruption, it also had a great impact on the economy. The total damages suffered amounted to about 6.7 billion pesos, and most of these damages came from the agriculture and services sector, but also affected the fishery sector. And so this resulted in higher prices of commodities in Taal, such as coffee, cacao, pineapple, fruits, vegetables, rice, coconut, and fish. And other impacts also included poor visibility, which was discussed in this week's module and will be mentioned in the next slide as well when we talk about the safety protocols. And so that leads us here, the last question I'm going to answer, which is, what were the safety protocols adapted by the government to mitigate the impacts of the eruption? So the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, or also called PHIVOLCS, recommended that citizens should limit exposure by avoiding outdoor activities and shutting doors and windows to block out the fog, especially for elderly, children, and people with respiratory problems such as asthma. They also advised to wear a mask at all times when outdoors, preferably a N95 mask, as it does a better job of protecting people from breathing in the pollutants emitted by the eruption. And they also recommended to drink lots of water to reduce throat irritation or constriction. And they also said that if serious effects were experienced, that a doctor or barangay health unit should be called, and they should also and also lastly, they advised motorists to drive with extreme caution because of low visibility and slippery roads. And so, yeah, here are the sources I used to get the information in this presentation. Feel free to pause if you would like to have a look at some of the articles. And that is all I have to discuss for today. Thank you for watching.